On today's episode of Kilts and Culture with USA Kilts, we try the Border Distillery, the long and the short of it. And this time, I didn't have to smuggle it all the way from Scotland.
It's medicine.
The history of the Gallic lands is one of struggle, punctuated by moments of sheer brilliance.
Tartan is Scotland's gift to the world, and it is your personal heritage story. Howdy, boys and girls. Welcome to Kilts and Culture. I'm Rocky. That's not Erik.
I'm Keith from Lochcarron.
This is Keith Russel. He's the sales manager. What's your official title?
Just Keith Sales.
Just Keith.
Just Keith.
Just Keith. He's like Madonna or Cher. He's just Keith.
Keith.
Just Keith.
Yeah.
He came all the way from Lochcarron, from Scotland, flew in specifically to co-chair the show. While he's here, he's also going to do a trade show in New Jersey and just kind of like stop by and set up a booth or something. But we were the main reason he came to the US, of course.
It was a quick chat in Glasgow in January. I said he would come, and here I am now.
Indeed. So, and today, special treat. Our gifted whiskey is smuggled whiskey. Keith was kind enough to bring us this, the long and the short of it, from the Borders Distillery. And this is right near your house, you say, right?
Yep, it's probably about half a mile from my house. So I thought I should bring something medicinal.
Yes, indeed, yep. For our colds, yes. And behind the camera today, our MC of the day, we have Erik, who's not on camera, but he's leaving the camera to come this direction to grab his whiskey.
Act like Mac.
Indeed.
Well, hi there.
How's it going, Erik?
It's going great.
Lovely. So, what tartan are you wearing today?
I'm wearing the ever classic Stirling tartan.
That is a lovely tartan right there. There's your whiskey.
Simple, sweet, to the point.
What tartan do you have on today, Mr. Keith?
I've got Buchanan Blue, which was the first 100% Scottish wool tartan that we wove in the mill.
Nice. Very nice.
But more on that later.
Indeed. Yeah. Beautiful tartan. I really like that one. And I have one, which you can't see real well, the Stewart Old Weathered Tartan. This was a custom weave. This is fast becoming one of my favorites, just from the fun differentness of it. Indeed. All right. So, whiskey. On to the whiskey bits. So, Erik, regale us with some tasting notes on the whiskey.
Hello, Rocky. You're tasting the Sanford. No, this apparently is a product from the what are they calling themselves? The
Borders Distillery.
The Borders Distillery, and they are actually in the border regions, right?
Yep, it's in
You're way down there.
Yeah.
This is part of their workshop series. This is the second one they've done. And what they did to produce this was to combine two whiskeys, one which had a long fermentation time of 150 hours, the other one which only had a 55-hour fermentation time. So they took the two of those and then blended them with some single grain to create something that basically has the benefits of both. That's the theory. Their official tasting notes do not include a nose, though.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you the nose first that was from a reviewer that I found. And he said the nose reminded him of stewed apple pie, tinned peaches, or more specifically the syrup water that they come in, and then a little bit of charring flavor.
Okay. I think you're leading the horse to water on that, but I get the char, the kind of charcoaly kind of smell in it, and that like the sweet smell from a tin. Do you smell anything? What do you smell, Keith?
Well, I can smell it when I walk past it every day with the dog.
Nice.
So it's
smells like home.
It smells, it does a wee bit like it. Then close your eyes, smell that. Then you've got the river on the right hand side. You're thinking, yep.
It's not bad.
There was some sweetness to it. I don't know if I would call it peach. It's just kind of a vague.
It's kind of got a little bit of an acidic smell to it for me.
I think that's what they're trying to say about the charring, perhaps.
Yeah. All right.
You ready?
Over the lips and through the gums. Look out, stomach. Here it comes.
Slanj.
I've
Now-
known some already. Don't worry.
They divide the official tasting notes divide the palate or the flavor into what you're getting theoretically from the short distillation and the long distillation. So the short side gives you a gooseberry skin flavor, citrus zest, and lemon and green apple.
I've got the apple a bit.
Yeah, the green apple, 100%.
Mhm.
The it's got a it's got like a sugary like viscosity, like when you drink like peach, like the juices that the peach come in. It has like, it's not like water where it's like flat and rough on your tongue. It kind of if you rub your tongue on your mouth, it's got like a little bit of an oily slickness
Right.
in the mouth.
Now
in the mouth feel.
the long, what they list as long parts of the tasting, you should be getting some fig pudding and some butterscotch and sultanas.
What's sultana?
It's a kind of raisin.
Raisin.
Okay.
It sounds nicer than saying raisin.
Butterscotch, you said?
Yes.
Taste it.
I have. It's like,
You gotta taste
already
more of
done.
it.
no.
What, do you not drink whiskey or something?
Slight confession, I did drink whiskey. I had a misspent youth, so I never really drank whiskey. And it's like, waking up on a
Learned
Sunday,
your lesson.
waking up on a Sunday morning thinking, oh my God. Then, no. So,
You're more of a wine
yeah, or
or beer?
just a beer.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or some of the Irish stuff.
Okay.
Oh,
So Irish whiskey, not Scottish
no,
whiskey.
Guinness.
Oh,
Like a Guinness.
that Irish. Got
yeah.
it. Got it.
But it's,
You might also say, according to this one reviewer, who I thought seemed like he knew what he was talking about, said he felt like there was a fresh baked pastry kind of a vibe, or lemon sherbet, a little bit of chili flakes, and fig rolls. Chili flakes, I think, is his euphemism for pepperiness.
Yeah, Bernie.
Oh.
Burning.
I'm gonna water it a touch. I'm gonna pour
Already
a
have.
little drop of water in it. Would you like any water?
oh, you're fine.
No. Okay. I found the one Scottish guy who does not drink whiskey. All right. So water. It's a
Ooh.
bit.
Wow, that changed it
Did it?
a lot.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely mellowed it out. Definitely. I was gonna say it was very. It's still a little like woody acidic to me. But it definitely cut it real nice. It tamped all the flavors down.
It did a bit. There's a lot of pepperiness now. On the back and the middle of my tongue, getting a lot of pepper.
I get a weird one. I get like metal taste in the back of my mouth now.
Well, that's just a stroke.
I was gonna say maybe having a stroke. I'm not sure which.
You're dodgy felons you've got.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, but it's all in the back of my mouth. Like when you have metal in your mouth, you chew on metal kind of thing. You have that weird in the back of your mouth. You know what I mean? Do you understand the sensation that I'm talking about?
I'm still trying to get over my head around the figginess about it.
I don't get fig.
I kind of.
I've got the green apple. I'll stick
Yeah.
the green apple.
Yeah,
Yeah. But for medicine, it's good.
indeed. All right, Eric, give me a rating 1 to 10. How do we feel about the Border Distillery?
I don't dislike it. It's not bad, but it's not really sending me either. So I'm just gonna go 4.9.
4.9.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not
Okay.
really in that.
Okay,
It's not bad.
fair. Scale of 1 to 10.
Slightly biased, and it's better than my past experience on whiskey. I'll go 8, but I'm really biased.
8. Okay,
Gracious.
strong score.
Yeah.
You would
Very.
drive somewhere to get this all the way.
I'd walk. I can see it.
You travel miles
Yeah.
and miles.
Yeah. It's got a story. Every whiskey's got a story. So
That's true. That's true. I'll give it. I'm not quite as harsh as Eric, but I'm nowhere near as keen as yourself. I'll go. Seven one. With I like it better with the water. It cut it down a little bit, cut some of the acidity out.
I agree.
Now, in fairness, we just opened it and poured it. We didn't let
Yeah.
it sit. So there is that. It probably will improve over time if you let it sit for 5-10 minutes before you start drinking.
A couple lumps of ice might be better.
Yeah. Well, that's also why you have the water. It does the same thing. It doesn't cool it down, though. Yeah. All right. Very good. All right. Put your whiskey over there. I'm going to remove the table. And boys and girls, put in your question down in the comments below. And we are always but your humble servants here to answer whatever questions you have about kilts, about culture, or about Lochcarron. So, Erik.
Yes.
What do we have for questions for our friend Keith and myself?
Well, I'm going to start you off with one from our good friend Thistleboy1745, who's actually fairly savvy, even though I think he's got the goofiest name I've heard in a while. How influential on trends are historians versus innovators and creators like Slanj, McCalls, or those guys? That is to say, how important is the history and traditions of Highland dress to your average Scot versus modern fashion trends?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what drives it, and how important is it? So is it driven by the hire agencies or stores that have kilts?
Yeah.
Stores that have their own tartans, fashion tartans, and that kind of thing, or is it driven by the mills who create the tartans, or is it driven by historians who get people excited about the old stuff that's been around for years and years and years?
Or art. Thistleboy mentioned the exhibit at the V&A.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or let's expand
stuff.
that, because artsy as well as fashion, because Alexander McQueen was in it, Vivian Westwood was in it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different, and I know you guys, Lochcarron's worked with Vivian Westwood and a few other fashion houses. So what do you think drives Highland dress?
Highland Dress itself, you're right. Like so Peter Macdonald have got the history side of things, and they can get access to about every bit of knowledge you can find. Then you've got some of the higher shops, like from Slanj, McCalls, Nicholson's. They can dig in, and they might find something that's quite relevant to their area, and if people buy into it. You've got like McCalls have got the Pride range. Top of my head, I think there's 8 what they run with, and that covers like Aberdeen, Dundee, Glasgow and Edinburgh, so they can get them all over. Slanj is really quite good as well, so they get a mixture of traditional hires, but then if there's any like sort of big events, like the music events coming up, they might have a kilt for whoever's on stage, and that promotes it there. So he's on stage in a kilt at a rock concert. It's like, oh, Slanj provided that, so it all works. But it's like getting what you like, and obviously the commercial side of things, you get the big fashion houses coming in and using tartan. Tartan never really goes out of fashion. You'll always find it. And every season there will be an aspect of tartan or a take on tartan. They might use Armstrong and they'll make it pink Armstrong, but still the basis, the tartan's still there. And if they get asked to weave it, it's fine, but then they can just tweak it about. TV celebrities wear it as well. You make somebody finding something to wear, and it'll generate an interest. I've seen so-and-so wearing a piece of tartan. Like say yourselves or Rocky might get inquiries. Do you supply this? Can we have it? Can we have it in this product or that product? And it goes from there to there.
Yeah, there was a bunch of queries I know about the new Doctor Who. He had a kilt on in one of the things. Yes. So what do you think drives it more? And do you think it's a good thing that the fashion of it makes it kind of pushes it and drags it kicking and screaming forward? Or are you more the traditional, historical, nobody should mess with the tartans, clan tartans are good enough, leave it at that?
You probably find clan tartans is so diluted. Like you've got so many tartans in our range, but they're all clans, and there's a lot of history behind that. We never look at the history. It's just like it's an Anderson, it's a Wilson. We never look at the history behind that. It's in our range. We've had that for X many years, and we've never really looked at it anymore. If you start digging into it, there is a lot of history on the shelves that we have, but it's a tartan we supply. If you want to look at history, yeah, you can. Or people might come in specifically, they've dug into their history, and they'll just look at it on the shelf, or if they're very, very lucky, they'll see it weaving next door in the weaving shed. Or you get some, if it's like find an old house and they found like a scrap of tartan and they want to use it for their drapes, it's no problem. But then it's trying to get to that colour, which is quite hard sometimes. The Peter Macdonald thing with Glen Affric, very fortunate. He's got House Egger to do it. McCalls, McNaughton's, sorry.
McNaughton's, yeah.
McNaughton's. And it's a commercial tartan as well. But it's getting something that's historical and commercial to run side by side is quite difficult. And I think the Glen Affric is quite commercial.
Yeah, it has a good,
It's got a good story.
It's got a good story to it.
Yeah.
That's ultimately the thing that kind of drives it, whether it's historical or not. It's the story oftentimes that drives the whole thing. So it's one of the things that I'm kind of both minds when it comes to tartan and history, is that anything that is stagnant dies. So it needs constant innovation. It needs the antagonists. It needs the Vivian Westwoods or the McQueens or whoever to kind of drag tartan into new arenas and do new things and explore new things with it. But it can't lose the common thread. It can't lose the base, the core of the history and the clans and the meaning that it has ultimately. Because if it loses that and it just becomes a plaything for the fashion people, then it loses everything, and it just kind of, it's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. It's the movie Duplicity in real life. So it's, I think it's kind of a weird symbiotic relationship where the fashion drives the interest in tartan in general, which also drives interest in the history of it. I'm going to draw a really weird parallel. I got into traditional Irish music from listening to Dropkick Murphys and Flogging Mollies. I got into the fun, youthful type stuff, youthful for me at that point, for the record. But I got into it listening to Celtic punk style music, and then I'm like, oh, the Man on the MPTA is actually an old song. Fitting Its Wake is actually a traditional Irish song. Then I start listening to different versions of that song sung by different Irish musicians, and it's like, oh wow, this is really cool. So it's a fun way to back more people into it from a weird angle, or create a bigger tent where more people are exposed to it and can enjoy it and have fun with it. Does that make sense?
It does, you're right. I've never heard of some of these bands. Some weird stuff.
You're really old, dude.
Yeah, but the same again. Like it generates interest, and it's like if you may see like a Vivian Westwood fashion piece, you're thinking, all right, can I get that tartan? And it is a traditional tartan on the shelf. You can actually go in and buy a yard, 2 yards. You can buy a tie, you can buy a scarf, and it's almost like a Vivian Westwood piece. But it's actually a traditional tartan, like Bruce Kinnaird.
Oh yeah, she's all over that.
It's all over there, like McQueen. Well, the clues in the name there, like but no, it's and that one with the V&A. It's like I've never seen as many fashion pieces, and I'm thinking, whoa, when did that happen? Like, and I think the last one what I saw was Billy Connolly's Grand Marshal outfit. It was there. I'm thinking, wow, and that's available. You can still buy that tartan. It's still relevant, and it's like 10 years old. Bruce Kinnaird, God knows how old that is. It's still relevant. So
yeah, indeed. Oh. All right, Mr. Erik.
Okay. Susan Fraser had this to say. She says, in the U.S., we often see a surge in interest in kilts due to popular media, like Braveheart and Outlander, obvious examples. Do you guys see that happening in Scotland too? How much of an influence on Highland wear or tartan sales is there from the media? And if it's not media, what drives the trends?
Right.
I'll let you, if you want to jump in on this one.
Media does drive some interest in the product. A while ago, we had, when Meghan Markle came to Scotland, she wore a black watch coat. The amount of inquiries we got for, do you have black watch coats? No, we've got black watch. But then when you see it, and again, it does. Or we had a programme in the UK, Traitors, and it was filmed in Scotland at a castle, and the host, Claudia Winkleman, championed like Scottish designers and product. So every night, well, I think it was 12 episodes it was on for. Every episode she had a new piece of clothing on, like tartan, tweeds, and the amount of inquiries that gets for one TV presenter, she's probably got tens of thousands and like following on Instagram and Facebook. But being on TV does generate, and it's just like, oh, it does. So going back to the last bit, it's like tartan never really goes out of the public interest. It's always there. It's commercial. Outlander, Braveheart, it still works, but it generates an income throughout Scotland, not just on the tartan side of things, from the tourism. Like go to the Cluny Stains, all the castles, and just the scenery. People like, and on the back of that, when Rocking was a little road trip in January, you probably visited most of the sites there as well.
Yeah,
you did.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's we answer this question, on the regular. So I was very interested in getting your guys' take on it. I love seeing how culture and commerce and fashion and what people are interested in all kind of blend together. So if something's on TV, we have other phrases we use like the Downton Abbey effect or the Peaky Blinders effect, and tweed coming into fashion has really influenced Highland wear a bit from the outside, where tweeds have been hugely popular for us. I'm assuming for you guys as well in the last, let's say, 8 to 10 years. It's kind of really come into its own. And then weathered tartans off the back of that, because of Outlander being, having weathered tartans in the show and those blending well with the tweeds at the same time. So it's a neat, you can see how the effect of the show, or what the effect the shows have on fashion on some level, great or small.
You're right, yeah. It does. But fashion is fashion, and it never really goes out of fashion, as I said before. But it's good. It generates a lot of interest, and it's like maybe where it comes from and how we do it. And we'll probably touch on this later on. It is a dying trade, so the more people know about it and where it comes from, it's good.
Yeah, I find it amusing that the people who talk, the people who know about fashion, not me for the record.
Not me.
You look very fashionable. What are you talking about? The people who know about fashion, every time you hear, what's the in color for the season, what are the in trends? Oh, tartan is in right now, but it's always freaking in. Every time that thing comes out, like seasonally or yearly or whatever it is, tartan's in. Like, no shit. Tartan is always in. Tartan is beautiful by itself. It doesn't need fashion's help, but fashion helps it, in getting exposure. But it's just, it's always there. It's great. It's part of the scenery. It's part of the background, but it's steeped in such meaning that it's, I don't even know where I'm going with it. I find it amusing where people figure out, like, they're discovering it for the first time. Like, tartan, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Such a concept of warp and weft stripes that overlap.
Yeah, so we get that in reaction sometimes. We take people into the warehouse, and it's like open, it's like we got a phrase like kids in a sweetie shop. They come down the stairs and you open the door and it's like, wow. I'm like, it's all the tartans here, so. Yep. Then you ask them what they're looking for, and it's like they come up with a list, and you're thinking, oh, right. So they know, looking for their clan tartans, and just like fashion ones, it's like, do we have this? Do you have that? No, that's X mill, that's other mill. But we'll try and work together, and if it's like not ours, I will say it's somebody else's, and I'll tell them where they can get them about. If not, I'll try and sell them something on ours.
Similar, yeah. No, but the one thing that I love about this trade, and I say it often, is that there's not really a lot of bad blood. It's a very small industry, and the mills all work together. Like, you're planning on, saying hi to Nick from House of Edgar when you get at a trade show. We all, for the most part, we all know each other, and it's a very friendly cutthroat environment. No, it's not cutthroat. It's more friendly. It's, you guys try to stay out of each other's ponds to some degree.
Yeah. There is a crossover sometimes too. Like when you go into like the hire shops, they all have our books, Martin Mills, Strathmore, side by side, and it goes down to people's taste. But Rocky's right. The trade show in January, it's a Scottish trade show, and we're all in their different bays. But at night, all the traders, we all socialise together. And it's like, it's good listening to some of their stories and like what problems they've got, what problems we've got.
Which customers are problems?
I didn't know what to say that like, but some of the really good
USA Kilts isn't the problem.
No, but then it's like, do you have this? Do you have that? Oh, I never thought of that. And we all help each other. And it's, yeah.
Yeah. It's a good industry to be in. It really
And it's
is.
got smaller and smaller. I think there's a table of 10, and that was like most of the Scottish woolen industry sitting around this table, like, and it was like really interesting. And listening to like Dawn, my boss, she was speaking on her experiences, and I had Christine speaking, and Kevin is like, it's like being at school. I was paying attention for once there, like at school, I never paid attention. But I listened and I was like, I knew stuff. I think, oh, but it's great learning stuff like that from other people around the table. Then when Rocky fires a question at you on a Friday when you're sitting in your car outside your house waiting to go home, and the wife's waving at the window, I'm going, it's Rocky on the phone, like, and she's going, gee whiz. It's fine. So,
in fairness, it was before 5 o'clock your time. I did not call you after hours.
No, it's fine. But it's just, we have to stick together to keep it alive. If we don't stick together, who knows?
Yeah. Agreed. So, stick together.
Yeah.
That answered the question and a whole lot more. There you go. All right, Erik.
Just a real quick aside, you might want to take note of the design of Keith's sporran, Rocky. See if that's something we would do. Getting some love for that
very
one.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, that's one of Morrison's standard sporran designs. We make ours fancy and different.
I did notice at yours, and I thought, oh, it's got fancy sporran on.
Oh, hold on. We're going to zoom in on Keith's crotch right there.
But for the visit, when we had the King visit in July there, put the Highland cow sporran on, and it was one of those that came into the store, we thought, that'll never sell. It's one of the best ones. And I think Margaret Morrison, I think they've run out of the
Highland Coot, yeah.
The Highland Coot, and it works because on the cantle, it's oxidized too, and it's got the Highland Coot, and it's really nice sporran.
Nice. Yeah, no, there's a lot of really, really cool, innovative sporran designs, and that's one thing that I like. We're going off on a tangent. Don't care. We're already off the rails. The one thing that I like is differences when companies try to do different things, and the amount of bog standard plain old sporrans that were around in the 90s, in the 2000s when we were first starting out in business. It was like, would you like this sporran from this company or from that company or from that company? It was all essentially the same thing. And now there's starting to be a lot more variation. There's throwback Victorian kind of things. There's a lot more things to play with, a lot more individualism within sporrans as well as within tartans. So I'm very happy to see more and more flavors of things coming out. And like a lot of the ones that we do, we come up with our own designs because we want our own styles, similar to how Greg has his different ones. This company has their different ones. So yeah. Sorry.
Greg, when he makes it, it's an amazing little place when you go and visit it. It's like, and the knowledge what Greg's got from historical styles, things as well. And if you say, can you try this? He'll either say aye or not.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's like companies like Dahlman's who has like an amazing back catalog of different cantle designs and things like that. And they only stopped having some of their, back catalog in designs and stuff because of a fire from, 100 years ago. So it's neat to kind of dig through the history bits. So yeah, I think that's definitely a part of the industry that's having and going to have further resurgence is looking more backwards, not just looking forwards, but looking backwards at the same time, looking for inspiration in Victorian things, in Edwardian things, all these old styles coming back into fashion again for people to play with it and have something different and original. Yeah. Do you agree or disagree with that take?
It does. And it's like, it's a timeless piece, and then if you think about it, that could go down 3 or 4 generations, passing down the family, and it's still got that story. It's part of you, and you fire it down the line. But no, that's just my lucky sporran, like for when I go out work, and just I thought for my TV appearances, I'll put this on. But I've got one what I bought maybe 20 years ago, and you're right, it's just like a box standard, and that's what you could get. But now the range is, and it's huge, and like what you can get the sporran made out of, it's like, all right. You almost have to Google and find out what that actually is. And I think the latest one was a coyote.
Yeah.
Whatever your whatever you fancy.
Yeah, no, this distressed leather, this is a collaboration with me and Greg trying to come up with something other than just a regular flat, a dark tan is what he calls, like that one.
Yeah.
But coming up with something with a little bit more character and old worldy kind of feel to it. Looks like it's beaten up before you ever get it. So just innovation there. And the other thing that's really, really innovated, sporrans as well, laser etching.
Yeah.
Because you're not stuck in, investing in a $100 brass stamp or a couple $100 brass stamp to be able to match, do one design on this particular sporran. You can set the program and have a laser etch done in whatever design you want.
Yeah.
So you can do one-offs, you can do a bunch of different stuff. So yeah, I love the innovation that's coming out of it. Yeah. Tangent, but good non-question.
Yeah.
Thank you, people, for pointing at his crotch.
Well, that was from Noah. So thank you, Noah.
Cheers.
I'm jumping to a question from Carl Taylor, who had asked this of us before. He's wondering what's going on with herringbone selvedges. Are they a thing? Are they a thing that you would offer, or are they problematic for mills, or what?
We can offer it only in the single width loom, but it's only done on very rare occasions. It's it's an expensive item to do. It takes a bit longer and there's a bit more work in it, and we've decided not to run with it like our range. One, it's not really commercial enough, but if somebody wants to come along and design a kilt, prime example was the King. He came along and his kilt has got the herringbone selvage. Yeah, but if you want to have one as well, we can do it. It goes through a single width loom, a bit like what House Egger running with. It's got the adaptation on it. We can do it.
Now, for the viewers out there, for the record, when he says we can do it, what's the minimum amount of yardage that you would sell as a single width piece?
We could do 120 meters, which is like a 60-meter piece.
So not enough for one kilt, Carl.
No,
that's the point.
It's one kilt.
Exactly. When it comes to short lengths,
yeah,
a lot of mills don't want to do it because it costs a lot. It takes a lot of time to set up the loom, to set up the, to get the warping done. I've said to people before, and tell me if I'm right or wrong. A lot of the time in setting up the loom, or in the cost of the cloth, is setting up the loom.
Yeah, 100%.
And getting it through the entire process of, picking out the colors, loading up the machine, getting the warping done up, then getting the weft threads all settled in. Then, you spend let's say a few hours before you even turn the machine on to start weaving.
Yeah, 100%. You do it like from the very start to finish. If it's got specific dyes, the dyeing side of things, then if it comes to the warping, but then when it comes to warping, it doesn't go straight into that loom. You'll need to work out if it's a single with the herringbone selvage. You'll need to make up the calm and do all the hiddles, make it up there. You may find it probably take 3 days to go from it being warped to actually being knotted and ready to go into a loom. And that's not what you've got to say. It's got to be bang
right on.
So
yeah.
It may take almost about 10 days to weave that, get up and running, as opposed to like a double width loom, you could do 80 meters in one day.
Yeah.
There's the commercial side of things, but then if you want it, we can do it, but there's a big minimum.
Yeah,
to make it worth a while.
Yeah, it's the opportunity cost is what it's called in business speak. It's the opportunity cost. What else could they have been doing in the same amount of time they were doing that for you? And that has to factor into the cost, unfortunately. Now, I'm curious. I don't know enough about it, so I'm speaking a little bit out of turn, and I don't know if you know anything about it. What was the provenance? How did herringbone selvage become a thing? When was it a thing? Or Erik, if you have any knowledge on this, if you want to jump in, herringbone selvage on tartans, why was it done, and or when was it done, and or was it always a big pain in the butt to do on like a Dob cross loom or an old, a shuttle style loom versus the newer style rapier looms like you have now?
To be honest, I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't have technical information.
No.
I can speculate that basically is an earlier way of making sure you have a secure selvage.
The edge.
Considering older technologies, making sure that you're actually getting something that was not going to fray.
Right.
Whereas now, because of the pressure you can put on the threads in modern looms and stuff like that, the kinds of selvage we see now do just fine. But back in the day, when the tolerances weren't as good, perhaps herringbone was a way of making sure that it was
You know, a nicer selvage.
nicer
Yeah,
and
that
solid.
probably sounds about
You didn't
right,
have to
yeah.
risk it fraying. That's speculation there.
Understood. No, but I'm gonna go down this rabbit hole for a minute. I know like on a Dob cross loom, like an old style shuttle loom with just a regular twill all the way down to the bottom with the shuttle, getting the tension on each shuttle to be equal across all the shuttles. And the shuttle is basically a little, wooden thing that shoots back and forth, and it has thread on it. That's what throws in the weft threads into the loom. Now, and each color has its own shuttle. So once you're weaving Royal Stewart, so it's going back and forth with red, then it changes to blue. So you need a different shuttle to go with the blue. But if the blue or the green or whatever has a different tension on it, then it's going to actually like pull in the edge of the cloth a little bit. So instead of having a nice flat, perfectly even bottom, it's going to go red, then the blue is going to pull up a little bit, then it goes over to green, then over to red, then back up to the blue, and it's going to just kind of have a little bit of a wave to the bottom of the cloth. Would the herringbone selvage help counteract that potentially?
Yeah, it should.
Okay.
It will.
You know more about weaving than I do.
I'm just trying to visualize it now. Like, yeah, well, because I remember going back, like what Rookie's saying, using the shuttle looms, you had the listings up the side, so you're red and it changing. It all come down to the tension. It was worse if you had like a change of colours, like maybe like 4 or 6 threads. It was really tight. But if it was going over like maybe like 20 threads or more, it had more space, so it wasn't as tight. But if you think the pirn, what was inside the shuttle going back and forward, it's not got the same tension at the very top as it's at the bottom or in the middle, because it's wound on. It's just a loose item.
Yeah.
And every pirn machine was different. There's no...
Perm machine is the thing that wraps the...
No, the pirn machine was like... you got the shuttle. You got the shuttle.
Right there.
Aye,
Can't you see it?
shuttle.
That's the wood
And
shuttle.
inside
It's right
that,
there.
You put your pirn, and that was like your cone of yarn was inside there.
Yeah.
So, it was like... It's almost like if you think of a pea shooter. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Pea shooter inside this shuttle, wool wrapped around that, and when it got fired across, there's a little hole at the top of the shuttle. That's what
The thread
drew
would
the
come
thread
out
drew
in.
out. Then, so you had like the uptake where it was sitting still, it went back in, and it went, whew, that was quick. Relax. Then it gets fired back across again, so it's like tense up,
Right.
then relaxed. So it's tensed up and relaxed. It went across tense and it relaxed. Yeah?
Okay.
But it was like the pirn was in there. And some of the mills, I remember when I first started in the mill, we had a pirn machine, and there was a tension gauge. You try to make it, but then you're using different. If you're using like fancy yarns, you might use a worsted was like maybe set tension 4, or if you're doing like a slubby yarn, you might keep the tension quite slack if it's quite a slubby yarn.
Yeah.
So each thing's got to do it different. Like, but when it's firing back and forward, you can't slow it down or speed it up the loom. It just
goes.
when it goes. Then with the idea of the new rapier looms, it's on a selector, so it winds itself into a spool off the cone, and it's held on at tension. So when it comes off the selector into the loom, every thread's exactly the same. And it's set up like that. And the idea is we get the selvage nice. We've got a tuck-in selvage, and the herringbone selvage is it's like the old-fashioned version of a tuck-in.
Yeah.
And you're getting a nice edge.
Yeah.
Which should be straight.
Should.
What you're saying is, I was right.
Indeed.
Yeah.
No,
you're right.
you helped suss it out there. Very good. Very good.
And me,
Cheers.
my hands like doing think,
Yeah.
back to connect.
Exactly. Rapier looms up here, shuttles down here. We got to remember that. Yes.
I think it'd be quite dodgy trying to bring a shuttle through customs. Might be a wee bit interesting. And the varying size, because sometimes I've got a couple on my desk that are like, it's like for people's like a hand loom.
Right. So
Like
you just need
for
a
like
small, tiny one.
a small tiny one. It's only probably a year wide. You get a little.
Little baby shuttles.
But then I've got like there's like an 18-inch one, and it's like it's a monster.
Right.
So if you can imagine that's getting fired back and forward, it will clatter back and forth. And that's like the noise in the old weaving sheds was so bad, is with these things knocking back and forward.
Right.
And if you think you've got 6 colours in every loom, and they're all going at different speed or different times,
Yep.
it will be quite noisy.
Indeed.
Like a Led Zeppelin concert, full blast.
Led Zeppelin concert. How old are you? No, actually, how old are you? I'm curious.
54.
54? Okay. I'm not that far behind you. I'm catching up.
So I left school at 16 and I finished on the Friday and started in the mills on the Monday.
Nice.
So being in Celtic, you could do that. You could like finish schools. And the idea is you went there, there's plenty of jobs and it was quite secure.
Right.
Then the world changes a little bit like so.
Well, you're still here. You're still standing.
Yeah. And it's like I said before, like having dinner with all the other textile companies. It's like being at school again. Like there's so much information out there.
Oh, I know. I know.
And
that's the beautiful thing and scary thing simultaneously is having all the knowledge and seeing like the people who actually know all these things, the institutional knowledge that is held in this industry in a small group of people. Knowing those people is actually really, really cool. It's also scary as hell because we have what we call the hit by a bus rule here at USA Kilts, where if anyone gets hit by a bus, we have to make sure there's someone who else can do that particular thing. So that scares me about the industry, but it's also really awesome to know and like watch those people converse and interact. Yeah.
It's great. But it's weird because you get some visitors into the factory, like, and it's like a family coming down, the grandparents are there. And you may have found the grandparents worked in the mill years ago. And in the principle, exactly the same, like the warping's never really changed. And come to the weaving, and they're like, "Oh, it's gone a bit quicker now, son." Because like
hopefully
they're going like the looms that we run are about 400 to 400, like 550 picks per minute. So it's going a full old lick. Like,
yeah.
It's like, and it's
was a Dob cross like 125?
Oh,
was it?
It's night and day. Like we
Yeah.
see it, but then it's a
And the single width is about 250 picks per minute. Yeah.
But it's magical listening to it. Like, and I remember like listening to some of the old like the mills when the shuttle looms were working. You could hear them miles away, like, and you could hear the noise. You go down to the weaving shed with us. The noise is there. It's slightly different. It's like it's still,
It's quieter.
it's quieter, but then it's going a heck of a lot quicker.
Yeah. It's more of a hum. Yes. Okay. Mr. Erik.
Keith, do you do any hiking or anything?
Yes.
Hiking, hill
Yeah.
walking, stuff like that? Okay.
Quite fortunate.
Cool. I have a question here from one Derek Hughes, who is currently a fan of utility style kilts from a hiking and camping standpoint. He finds them very practical. They're light and quick drying, he says. However, how would such a kilt fare if he was walking on the West Highland Way getting soaked?
I think it'd be okay because it is naturally water repellent.
But he's talking about
No.
utility kilts, which are usually
Utility
cotton duck.
Cotton.
Yeah.
Downside is midges.
Mm.
I would be covered up 10 inches of my life because
For those, explain what midges are for those who don't know.
a little fly, what's vicious.
It basically gnats that bite.
Yeah. And you come out like if you've got chicken pox and they're like, you're just like, oh, fresh meat, bang. That's you. Yeah, you could wear a utility kilt. There is people who've done it. There's a chap done it over lockdown. He walked like the length, I think he walked around the whole of Scotland. And he'd lived in his great kilt. And
Yeah.
he'd camped in that, and it did work. It'd be okay, like, it might need laundered after your trip.
Just maybe.
You may want to wade into a lock or two. Yeah.
You probably could get away with it. It'll be handy sometimes too, like if it's pouring the rain, you've got your waterproof jacket on, you can put your hands in your pockets.
Yeah. Now it's for utility kilts. If it is a canvas utility kilt, I would be a bit leery if the weather is going to be wet.
Yeah.
Because
not gonna
cotton
dry.
holds water. It will soak it up and it will be heavy and then it will start to chafe. So I would be a little bit leery if it is weather dependent. Now, if you have something like, didn't utility kilts do like a Spartan or something? Like they did something
Yeah,
that's like,
bloody awful.
yeah.
It's like a nylon.
Yeah.
Scorch.
If you had something
I mean,
that's
ugh.
like maybe if it was ripstop or something that had like a lighter weight and it was a faster drying thing, sure. If it is a heavier, thicker, denser cotton or a canvas, you're probably going to chafe and it's going to get heavy.
Yeah.
I'd still go with the wool. And I think Keith is absolutely correct that basically his first response was say, well, yeah, it sheds water. It's like, yeah, wool is what you want. There's a reason why they wore wool in the Highlands for hundreds upon hundreds and hundreds of years. So I wouldn't do the cotton duck. I would do wool if you're going to do
But
it.
you can't guarantee the weather. It's not going to be like tropical. Well, it may be. It may look tropical when you come across it
For
in
an
a nice,
hour.
lovely cove. But there'll always be.
There's rain around the corner.
Yeah, it's fresh. But no, you could get away with it.
You know, you could get away with it. Yes, I would say this. I would posit this. Bring a pair of like quick drying hiking shorts.
Yeah.
Period. Bring those, because if it fails as a plan, you got to have a backup plan. So if it works, great. But the lightweight shorts you just throw in the back of your sack, great. They have an option. So if plan A fails, you have plan B.
It's probably if you use your kilt and you walk around Scotland, it's a good icebreaker as well, because somebody will always ask, one, what are you wearing a kilt for? Two, what's a tartan? Then probably three, I'll go Scottish again.
Where are you from? Because you're not because you're not Scottish.
Are you off your head? But yeah, I'd get a bash like.
Yeah, do it, try it, report back, tell us how it went. Absolutely. All right, Erik.
Okay, back to the business side of things. Billy P asked us, he comments that he knows that Lochcarron was sold in 2011 and went from being a family-owned operation to a company owned by a global brand. How have things changed, and how have they stayed the same since that happened?
Right. We're
Give us a bit of the history. Yeah.
Lochcarron was a family-owned company up until 2011. The latter years was a bit turbulent, just with the world in general and where money was coming from, and we were having to invest and put money into the business, and you were getting no return. What you're putting in, it wasn't coming out.
Yeah, remember this is during the 2008, housing collapse. This is during the recession. That's U.S., but that affected world economy as well.
And you were
all the mills were having problems.
It was tough. It was very tough. And I remember going in some days thinking, right, one, is the door got to be locked? And it was like on a Monday, especially thinking, right. Then you're looking at stock on the shelves, and it's a bit like Gorgonzola cheese. There's so many holes in the stock. On a positive note, it's not like that now. After lockdown, we had lots of holes in the stock, but we've topped it up.
Yes.
At that time of the year, it was damn scary, where we were going. And they were like, right, have we got a job or have we not got a job? It's like, right, what do we do? What's plan B? And it's like, if we lost that, there was another mill gone. Then if we went, did that have an effect on other mills or higher industries? Where did we get their stuff?
Yeah.
And it's just like Selkirk's a small town as well, 5,000-6,000 people. Yeah, we employ people from all over the borders, but we generate income in the town as well. It's thinking, right, you got Susie's snack bar. Would that survive? Because we have to use it for salad rolls every now and then.
Not Susie.
Yeah.
And her snack bar.
Snack bar. It's wee things like that. So the knock on, and just in general in the town, it's like, and you get people in the street, people that had worked in Lochcarron in the past asking you, thinking, what's happened at Lochcarron? I'm thinking, well, I don't know, I'm still there. I heard this. So the uncertainty and rumour, what was rife, it was
Yep.
It was pretty demoralising. Then there was a lot of things going on in the background, which I was on that side of the fence, no, this side. And it was right, this is happening. And Alistair Buchanan got us all in the main office one day and said, look, and it was big hand up to him, for him to stand up and say, due to the financial things, he couldn't afford to keep the company going, and he's actually sold it to this company. The management were looking to buy out, but there was a couple of backers pulled out, so that didn't help. So this company came along. They knew the brand. They're a Korean multinational company, and they've got interests within Europe. And they must have done their bit of homework, and they realised we've got a great market for the product worldwide and in Scotland. But they never really got their head around why we don't sell tartan to England. There is reasons, but just a small one. So once they took us over, it was a trial and error. What they thought would work and what we were trying to tell them would work. It's a bit like a marriage. So you say I say tomato, you say tomato.
Tomato, yeah.
Right. It's a bit like that. So it took a few years for them to get their heads around. will just leave us where we are, and they've got faith in us. Don and the team's worked really hard for them. We've had Koreans working with us in the factory. Now there's a Korean director based in Europe, but looks after like a couple of companies in Italy, one in England, and us.
A few different brands, yeah.
And we report to him, then he reports to like Eland itself. But when you look at the main company, it's a huge company. We do work for them as well. We do produce for them. But mainstay, they've just left us on our own. And all the investment we've put in our company recently, we've self-funded that. So we've not had like help from like the main company behind us. We've just done it ourselves, and they're happy with it, to do that. And it's like put faith back in the company. So it's been a long journey, but we're all still here and we're doing what we're doing. And it's like, and there's a few bottles of wine being drunk over that, but by crikey, it's a good story. And if you went back, like some of the TV soaps on TV now, like docu-soaps, it'd be an interesting one to see what people would think about how we went through. And it's like, there is people left the company and went on to do other things within the business still, but there's a lot of people still in the factory who went through all the turbulent years and stuck with it. And we took like a wage cut as well to kind of help things along, just to keep the company going. Like, so it's it's like a family. You do that for your family. Well,
some of us do.
But so it's our job as in security as well, and our family as well. Like, so you have to like put some faith in it.
It's again, it's scary, and to see how precarious position the industry can be in if one mill or two mills go away. Like it's not total ruin, but it's kind of close. So it's I knew Lochcarron was at a point back then where the rumors are flying. I tried, not to listen to them as much as possible, but there was a lot of rumors, and I can't imagine what it would be like actually working in the company and hearing rumors about my own company, and I don't know if they're true or not. And is Lochcarron going to continue in Highland Wear with these people buying them, and what are they going to do? And is they just going to become an extension of this particular brand who's only going to supply to them? Are they going to do Highland Wear at all? So I'm happy to see that the parent company kind of, tried to force it and make it go. And you guys stood your ground to some degree and pushed back on it and said, this is what we are. This is what we are good at. This is how we can continue and thrive. We went through a turbulent period because of the collapse of the entire economy, but doesn't mean we're a bad company. It means that we're going to come out on the other side a better company because we're going to be leaner and meaner. And the fact that they believed in it enough to sink money in, sink in new looms, sink in new technology, and get you guys back on your feet. Yeah. And now coming out the other side, the fact that you are profitable, the fact that you can self-fund, you don't have to rely on them constantly injecting cash to keep the business afloat. You're doing it yourselves. That's a very, very good sign. And it helped to save the industry. I can't imagine what would happen, forget the local economy. I can't imagine what would happen to the rest of the tartan world if Lochcarron had gone or House of Edgar had gone, one of the big, Scottish mills had gone away. That would leave a gaping hole that would be tough to fill. I mean, sure, some of the other mills would pick up some of the pick up some of the business and stuff, but they wouldn't want to carry, every single individual tartan that Lochcarron covers. No. They wouldn't want to carry all the 11 ounce as well, or 10 ounce, as well as 13, as well as 16, as well as tweeds, as well as everything else. So
if you went back to like Selkirk in like say like the 50s, early 60s, there was like sort of the big mill chimneys. There was like 16 mill chimneys running down the length of where the industrial estate is. So each chimney represented either a spinning mill, a weaving mill, or finishing. Like, so there was a lot of industry in there, like
a dye house.
And it's just got smaller and smaller and smaller. And we did have a big dye house in Selkirk. Unfortunately, it went in fire. So that didn't help. So
as they do,
yeah. Then we've got smaller businesses, and the site what we're in now was like almost like a vertical mill. It was Gardeners of Selkirk. So where our weaving shed, what is it was there, yarn sort of greasy wool came in there, then they spun it, then it zigzagged all the way through the factory, and it came out the other end as woven product.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tweeds in that as well, like, but they didn't specialise in tartans, but so we've kind of moved into another factory, but still keeping a bit of history going. Like when you look along, there's big buildings, like 4 or 5 story mill buildings, which employed a whack of people, and there's nobody there like it.
What kind of measurement is a whack? Is that like a metric ton?
Whack of people.
Yeah.
Whack of people. If you can remember, like if you visualise, like when it like the mill lunchtime whistle went, or it finished at 4:30, you get knocked over the amount of people coming out the mills. Then they're like ants going away, going to homes and that, and it's like. But then some of the spinning factories, they bus people in from other towns. So there's like mill buses sitting to take people. There was a mill bus sat on the road opposite. We call it the low road because it's low.
Yeah.
It sat there and took people up the town. So the mill bus took people up the town.
Yeah.
Because Selkirk being Selkirk, it is on a hill. So all the factories are on the bottom of the hill. So but we bus people in from other towns, and it's like.
And how many mills are left in Selkirk, do you think?
Weaving mills, 2.
See, this is the precarious position that, and this is not meant to be a bleeding heart commercial for Scotland, for the record. But this is the precarious position that the industry is actually in, is the institutional knowledge. Because once the mills start closing, the institutional knowledge, the people that work there, they go elsewhere. They find new jobs. They find new, areas to explore in their lives. They go down to, they travel. And if all of that knowledge goes away, it's very, very difficult to bring it back. You have to find some of the old timers who have retired and who live there to help, kick and, scratch and claw to get the knowledge back before those people die or they move out of the area. Yeah. So I'm thrilled that A, it didn't go away, and B, it does still exist, but it also underscores the fact that, we need to support Scottish mills, period.
You're right in saying you had one of the old worthies. Like I spoke to one the other week and he went, I've got some old mill things. Are you interested? I was like, as in what? He went, well, just bits and bobs. So when I go back, probably next couple of weeks, I'll go see him. Because he's got a wealth of knowledge. He ran his he had a wee weaving shed of his own. So he's got stuff that hopefully will be quite interesting to see what he's got. Obviously, he might want some money for it, like, so I'll sell him a scarf.
That's very kind of you.
I'll give him a scarf for it.
All right, Erik.
Going from the struggles and trials and tribulations to more positive, I think, we had Christopher Hills commenting that he's a shepherd, and he knows that our own U.S. wool market, which has been weak for decades, actually collapsed during COVID completely. Mm-hmm. So what he's wondering is, how are things going with the new line of British-grown wool, Strome fabric that Lochcarron is doing?
So, Keith, the new British wool, what was the rationale to do it?
Right.
And tell me about it.
It's been a kind of long-term project. It was kind of muted at the start of 2020 that there's a possibility.
It was a little thing that happened.
I mean, it was like there's something else happening in between, and it was like there's enough wool in the system for us to produce wool to a time our strong quality. It was a mixture of Rumley Marsh and Cheviot sheep. At the very start, it was the percentages was like the Rumley Marsh had to come from south of the border. Can't help that. It's fine. But then recently, as like for the past 18 months, all the wool we're getting now is 100% Scottish. And that's some great work with British wool, sourcing the wool, and they're working with their spinners. And then it's coming to us. So it's hard work, but then you look at all the sheep in Scotland, you think, it'll work, but it doesn't work. You have to use certain breeds to get that Strome weight.
Yeah.
And it causes a little bit of problems too, because the guard hairs are different and it takes the dyes up slightly different. So it's not just straightforward, like putting a white cone into the dye pot couple of hours later, it's got the right colour. There's a bit more to it as well. But then on the other side of things, British wool worked damn hard to get the wool out and at the market. Yeah, some of the wool isn't, it's only fit like for insulation. But there is a market for every part of it. And it's just getting out. And you know, the American wool just flat bottomed. And I think you have to look at that. I think the Irish market done exactly the same on the wool. It flat bottom. British wool work really hard in promoting, and it's weird. We went up to the Highland show in Edinburgh. It's like a big agricultural show at the British wool stand, and I didn't realise how much product you could get made out of wool. Not just like what we're wearing now.
Mm-hmm.
There was string. There was pillows, duvets, a lot of interior stuff, what you could use, and insulation. The whole fleece gets used. I'm thinking, right, it doesn't get wasted. There is bits where you think, so British wool try hard to like break it all up, and the experience what British wool have got, once they get their greasy fleece, then grading it all out into different parts, goes down to the spinners, and I think it's the good relationship Dawn and the design team have got with the spinners is saying, can you do this, can you do that, and then working on it. Then the spinners speaking to British wool to find out how much wool is in the actual pot. Yeah, we can do that.
Now, when you were talking about, you've used the term greasy wool a few times.
Yeah.
Explain what it is for the viewers.
Greasy wool is like when, it's easy with terms, when every year the sheep get a haircut. The breeds of sheep that we use only get a haircut like once a year. If you're using like, what's very popular now, I don't know if it's in the States yet, is like a Vallis black nose. That has to get clipped twice a year. And it's more like a pet. But if you look at the sheep, they get a haircut once a year. It promotes like the welfare of that sheep as well. So it comes off the sheep. It's greasy. So the lanolin in there, there's a product in there as well. The lanolin is like, it's great moisturizer. So it's greasy, like, and you can feel it like. But then once your kilts, before it goes to the finishing plant, you can actually feel there's a bit of lanolin in there. Although it's been through loads of other processes, been dyed to colour, it's still there. So we call it the greasy. But
so greasy just means like essentially untreated, undyed.
Undried. It's just like,
It's got all the oils, all the lanolin.
It's got all the
and everything.
lanolin still in it. Correct.
it's fresh as anything. Like
It's got that smell, that sheep smell.
It's got that. It has got a smell. And
Yeah.
it's like when you go to the sorting office, it is very smelly because there's sheep. There's some sheep that are like needing a haircut, and the wool's no great, and it's like, but they've got a purpose.
Yeah.
And it's like, but then some of them are really nice. They don't go to the hairdresser. We get a shampoo and set. They get
Twigs and bugs.
yeah. But then sometimes if you look in some of our like the Scottish wool, there is bits of fibre in there, and it's like you don't get that in some other tartans as well. We've got a thing in Scotland called bracken.
Yep.
It's bracken fern. You dig it in Australia. Yeah. And what you sometimes find, you get polypropylene, and then you might see like a white thread. That doesn't take up any dye stuffs, and that's just come out of like the sorting floor or in the wool shed, and it's got tied in, and it's went through all the processes.
But it still comes out white.
It still comes out white.
Yep.
So if you get a kilt and it's got like what's that? It's like a bit of bracken. You can't get any more real than that.
Yeah.
And it's like the sheep are free to roam in the hills, and it's like you're in the factory. It's like so fortunate being in the borders. It's like the hill opposite the mill. It's full of sheep, and those sheep may end up. The fleeces may end up on our shelves, being sold all over the world.
I want to know.
Yeah.
In the seal industry, I know several years ago they actually said that you had to actually give a serial number to each seal that was harvested, so you can actually trace it. So you're not just buying illegal seals, kind of thing. Now, are we going to be able to get so advanced in our kilt knowledge and our tartan knowledge that we can trace the kilt that Keith is wearing to Bessie and Susie, the two sheep that live on the hill behind the shop?
Not quite. Right. But if you could say, right, it goes to the sorting office, they can trace that batch.
To a particular farmer.
Yeah, the farmer. When it comes to the wool sorting office, like when you go to the builder's yard and you get a dumpy bag of aggregate. Yeah, you get them. Like an aggregate bag.
Yeah.
Like dumpy bag.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can imagine that, twice the size of that, rammed full of fleeces. It'll come from, there'll be a batch number on that, and it'll come from, well, the pictures, what you saw in the little video clip there, that's Fairnley Farm, and that's like 3 miles as the crow flies from the factory. And it's farmed by the McComb family. I know the dad and son play rugby. And it's like very hands-on family. You saw them at the clipping in there. It's like everybody's mucking in there. So the wife and the daughter, everybody's in there like and mucking in, doing their stuff. It's 3 miles from the factory, so it's telling a story there as well. Like, so you can say it's from the McComb family, and you know the welfare of that animal is bang on. Yeah, sheep have the identification tags on their ears, but you don't have anything in their fleece. You'll just have it'll be a batch of that farm. But you know, if it's got to come from the south of Scotland, you can't go any far wrong with the scenery we've got. Like, and it's like across like 3 miles from the factory, or you can drive 30 miles up a valley, and it's like, look at this. Like, you've got the lochs, you've got blue sky sometimes, and you can't go wrong like it, apart from the
Not
midges.
enough.
Huh?
It's not enough blue
Not enough.
sky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious. Did the pandemic and supply chain disruptions, shall we say, play a part in wanting to do Scottish wool?
Mhm.
Or like I know, most wool for the industry comes from New Zealand and Australia.
Yeah.
So knowing that there was issues with the supply chain during the pandemic, was that part of the impetus of Lochcarron saying, well, let's try to get more stuff local, because that way we don't have to worry about shipping containers, we don't have to worry about this, and this, or was it strictly an ecological play?
I would say it's supporting like a Scottish woolen industry.
Yep.
And it's like, if it's on your doorstep, you might as well utilise it. And it's going back to use the spinners and it works. The pandemic, yeah, it did play a part, like, but then it affected everybody.
Yeah.
Unless you were cash rich and had a shed full of wool. But
Don't we all?
well,
I know I have 3 sheds full of wool right behind the shop.
it's I see a shed. It's actually like a big warehouse. I call them sheds. It's but it'd be good to have that. But then everybody was off, so you were sitting with that money sitting in your shed. You couldn't get anybody to produce it. So
Yeah.
So in the lockdown, we were running our stock downs very low, and that gave us, when we started back up, we kind of drip thread like the British wool at the time into the Strome system, and everything that comes in now is on the 216, sorry, is 100% wool, and it's 100% Scottish wool.
Nice.
Yeah? So it's good when you come bring customers around and you go,
Yeah.
that's it.
Those
Yeah.
sheep made that
Yeah.
tartan over there. Yeah.
I have-
They
I have-
contributed.
I have
They
said that
contributed.
line once or twice, like I say, they sheep, there you go.
Nice.
But it tells a story, and it's like you can relate to the family, and if depends what way they come to Selkirk, you're actually passing the farm where the wool could come from.
Yeah.
And or if they drove past the sorting office, the sorting office is really good. In that clipping time of the year, you'll get like a farmer rocking up with his pickup truck with a bale in the back, and that might be his flock of sheep. Or you get somebody coming in with a truck with a whack of bale. There you go, a whack.
A whack. No, the official measurement.
Right,
Yes.
a whack of bales in the back, like so. Yeah. But roughly we go through about a ton, which is 1,000 pounds. I was going to say, pounds.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's assume I know weight measurements.
Weight measures. We go through about a ton a week, but then in the bigger scheme of things, overall, British Scottish wool is 30% our market now. Who knows going forward where it'll go?
Yeah.
And that's just on one quality.
Yeah. And it's neat as someone who loves good marketing and loves a good story.
Mm-hmm.
It's neat to be able to add to the history of clan tartans and the knowledge that is there and the pedigree that's there, with being able to say, and the sheep are from right here and the people are from right here. It tells more of a complete story of the garment than any other garment that I know of. Like it's they're I won't say any period, but how many people know, where the cotton for your t-shirt was harvested, who picked the cotton, who wove the cotton, who actually made the cotton or who made the cotton into, or that made the material into a t-shirt to sell it to you. How many people know that whole dirt to shirt story versus a sheep to kilt story? And it's a beautiful thing to be able to know this is the land where the sheep was, who got the haircut, who went to that dye house over there, who went to that weaving shed over there, who went to that kilt maker over here, who made it to my exact measurements, and now it's on my body. How many articles of clothing do you know that entire story for? This is one of the few industries where you can actually say, I know every step of the process. And that's pretty freaking cool.
Yes. Once you get into it, like, the more passionate you can get, like, and it's like, you don't want to go and bang on the drum. And it's like, then it is quite, you touched on it there, it is a good story, like.
Bang the damn drum, dude. Just bang it away. I don't care. That's one thing we do here is we bang drums.
Right.
Indeed. We are like the Slipknot with multiple drums. You have no idea what I'm talking about.
I've heard of Slipknot, yeah.
A band?
Oh, I've heard it, that's it.
Okay, fair.
I've heard
it's
it,
a band
right.
with a lot of drums.
Right.
So we are
Okay.
the Slipknot of the fashion industry. Banging drums.
Yep.
Cheers. Erik.
Photoshop both of you guys into Slipknot masks now.
Exactly.
Is that the
Something
ski mask?
with the
Like
spikes. They all wear
Halloween
masks.
masks.
Yeah.
Halloween
thing,
mask.
yeah.
Yeah. Rings a bell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good band. Good
Because
band.
they don't have the guts to actually take the time to put on corpse paint like a proper heavy metal band. But anyway, I digress. Mantra Radius 5902 asked, what are the best and worst dye colors when it comes to their consistency between dye lots, longevity of how they look over time, what's better or worse for fading? Are there certain colors that you tend to work with or tend to avoid for any reason? And there's someone else, similar question, very curious about whether natural dyes are ever used anymore or if it's all synthetic aniline dyes. So,
Right.
A little bit about dyes.
Technical question.
I've been dying to hear your answer.
Yeah. Right.
Sorry for everyone at home. Don't change.
You probably find camel's quite a hard colour to dye. Because it's really...
Camel, so like tan kind of.
I'll look at it sometime and they say, oh, it's too red. I'm thinking, is it? But then when you start looking at it, if you ask, like, speak to the designers, when they come and like look at the colours, you can actually see where they're coming from. So they're trained to look for that as well. We don't use any fluorescent colours, so that would be too much. Like
A kilt from the 80s, boys and girls.
it could, if you want, we'll make one. Not with a
No.
with herringbone selvedge.
Don't put that idea
No.
into anyone's head out there. No, he
No.
won't. I'm taking that back for him.
Yeah.
Do not Photoshop. Actually, do Photoshop an 1980s fluorescent color kilt right here. Yes, you're welcome, everyone.
A lot of this dye stuffs, they're all colour fast, like, so they shouldn't really fade unless you look after them well. What we have found since a lot of the components in the dyes have changed, so instead of us like buying it off the shelf, the colour from our suppliers, we've had Brexit in the UK, and there are a lot of things what we can't do, and maybe we've changed it in Europe, and it doesn't work with us. So they may have changed the component in the actual dye stuff. So we've been buying like that shade of dye, and we start to make it, and it's like, oh, it's not the same colour. So you're thinking, oh, right.
So they don't even tell you that they've like, hey, this this particular chemical became illegal, therefore we had to change this particular shade.
No, you did get that. So you're like back to square one. So if you think, oh, crikey, that's not working. So
I think I'd have it with the freaking the dyers.
But then, so Fiona is our dyer, and she goes in and like mixes it up and tries a bit of this and a bit of that to try and get it to the recipe what we've used to use all the time. It might only take a little bit of something else, and it's bang on again. But it just takes a little bit. It's no straightforward.
Yeah.
And
But do you find out before you weave the cloth? I
Oh
hope?
yeah.
Good.
So when it comes to dyeing, obviously we'll buy the wool in white. It comes in a 2-pound cone, and we'll dye it like in a big pressure vessel. So it goes in a spike. If you think of a whiskey vat with spikes, you put the cones into there, and we've got another pressure vessel behind that. There's my hands talking again.
I do it all the time.
We'll
don't worry.
fill this up with the powder dye in hot water. So after a while, we start pumping it through. So we dye it from the inside out. So
Right.
it gets a consistency all the way through the cone. You usually could dye it like on like loose dye. Or if you're like doing like a mixture, you dye it in the loose. Like with like just wool fluff.
Right.
So we dye it on the cone.
So you're talking about dyeing the wool
Mhm.
fluffy
No.
versus
Yeah.
on a cone
On the
already
cone.
spun.
Yeah.
So it's actually yarn, and then you're dyeing the yarn.
So we're dyeing the yarn on the cone.
Yeah.
And it usually takes about 2 hours from start to finish. But Fiona and Lewis that works in the dye house, they're trained to look at the colours and match them up. And we've got little tails floating about in the dyes. So after maybe a couple of hours, we'll take it out and go check it against the master shade.
Yeah.
So it's like somebody sitting at Ford and making sure the red in every 4 card going through is
It's
the right
red.
shade of red.
That shade of red. The
No,
cherry red,
right,
not
right,
the,
no
the apple
BMW
red.
red.
Yeah.
right. So they check against that. If it needs a bit longer or a little bit tweak, they can tweak it in the dye pot. Once it's out, it's settled, dried, then it goes to the next process in the factory.
Right.
But dye stuff is a problem all the time.
Yeah, no, you want to be consistent from A to B to
Yeah.
C. You want all of your products to be consistent across time.
Mhm.
And I didn't even think about the Brexit aspect complicating the whole freaking thing of the dyes that you're using, because you're right. Why would it ever be different? You just call up the company who sells you your dye. I need blue 976.
Yeah.
Send me blue 976. Boom, done. Why would that ever change? So yeah, that's. I kind of hate that. I
That's
imagine
the scary
that
part, right?
causes a lot of issues. From sitting on this side, where we just get the kilts, or get the fabric, and the fabric is always consistent
Yeah.
coming from the different mills. I don't think about all that goes into it, but every single business has its own supply chain issues, and it has to work from step zero all the way through to the finished garment. And there are so many checks and so many balances. I never thought about the Brexit thing affecting it and what your problems are going into it. So I feel bad for you. That sounds horrible.
It's testing.
Challenging.
Aye, challenging. And keeping it right as well. Like, when it goes into the ovens, it's set there. Like, so camel's the worst thing to dye, and even black as well. You think black will be okay, but
Black is not black is not black.
It's usually
No.
But you see Fiona, she gets stressed sometimes when you take some of the colours and you can. But then we're quite lucky. We've got a really high tech system. We've got like filing cabinets with recipes. So every piece of yarn that we've dyed in the past, we'll take like a wrapping off of that. It's attached to it, and when it was done, so we've got the master shade. Then we've got every one after that, and when we did it, and what many kilos we've dyed. So it's not going to go way out. It may go out a little bit.
But you can always go back to the master.
You can always go back to the master.
Yep.
And once it's done there, we've got like a light box. So we can like look at under different kind of lights to make sure it is showing up the right colour. Yeah, it's like light box. There is a technical. I'll send Rocky a picture of the technical explanations down one side of it. It's in Scottish terms. But no,
a lot of explicatives.
it does work. Like, and you think, all right, you never look at it. Then you look at it there, and you go look under natural light, like look at it in like normal light. You think, you take it outside, and it's matching. You look at it in the light box under natural light, and it changes completely. And it's just like probably something probably 2 yards by a yard wide. This box, you can change the lights on it there, and it's worth.
Yeah. When you look at Spirit of Scotland tartan, in a regular room with like cool white fluorescent lighting, it looks dark. It's very, very subtle changes. You can't see much. If you take that outside in natural daylight, that purple pops, that electric blue pops, and you can really see the design that's there. So
what we find very hard sometimes as well is if somebody's replacing like their higher stock, and obviously the things have changed now, and we're using Scottish wool as opposed to what we've used in the past. It might be slightly different. Like in their the downside is with that is they're trying to match them with all their jackets and in their hire. So if we put like weave cloth and it's slightly different, yeah, it will stand out in a big hire range. But in time, the old hire range goes that way.
Yeah, it gets shifted through.
And we're not going to change again. Like so, we're not going to walk away from the Scottish wool side of things. It will always be there now till I retire, and probably you will then too. There,
I'm not retiring until I die. I'm going to kick over in this chair live on camera. I need ratings, boys and girls.
Good.
Yeah.
and his Slipknot mask.
Indeed, in my Slipknot mask.
You guys have rabbit holed a
Yes.
lot,
Sorry.
but I have to ask two questions, or one observation and one question. I'm fascinated that as much of the process actually still relies on human eyesight, as opposed to using like a spectrometer or something to say, okay, this is the number of molecules here. We know this is the correct rate because the science says so. But my question is, you mentioned that you guys wind up homebrewing the formulas for some of the dyes to make sure they're correct. Does that become a trade secret?
I can't tell you that. Yeah,
That's
No,
If
probably
I
the
told
best
you,
answer.
I'd have to kill you.
if you'd get past a few in the dye house and in the filing cabinet, you might find the recipe. So,
She has a bat with spikes sticking out of it just in
There you
case.
go.
she likes her heavy rock band, so you could talk about bands and maybe get in around that
Fair.
way.
Okay.
Fair,
Okay.
fair.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, I don't think it's a trade secret, like, but then everybody's got their own uniqueness from our weathers to others like old and rare or muted colours. They all go through the same processes, but they're slightly tweaked. They might add a little bit of that dye to make it more relevant to their market, and we'll keep it to our market.
Yeah. You gotta have an identity.
Yeah.
As a mill. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. Speaking of things you guys do that may or may not be rational, Carl Taylor asks, why did Lochcarron decide that the Aberdeen tartan should be 23-inch size set?
Yeah, Keith.
I'll take a wee drink for this one. Right, I know that. It's quite a nice tartan, isn't it?
It's the kilt maker's nightmare.
Right.
A tartan with a 20. Now, when a kilt maker is making a kilt, we need to fold the pleats into each other to make sure that you have just a little bit showing. And if you're doing it to the set, you want the pattern to progress along the pleats. So, what happens is most normal sane mills will choose a 7 or 8 inch set size for their tartans because that equals a good amount of fabric to tuck into the pleat, a good size face, and it creates a nice kilt. If you have a mill who goes rogue, they're smoking too much in the back room in the mill and decide, hey guys, know what I want? 23-inch set size, man. And they decide that a 23-inch set size for the Aberdeen tartan is the thing to do. All kilt makers want to kill them.
Yeah. We've had issues with people buying swatches. So you get a swatch. A swatch is like a 9-inch piece of fabric. And depends how it's cut. You may get the white bit, you may get the red bit.
I didn't even think about the swatch size.
Right. You might get a bit of both, and you're thinking, right. So we dig a bit of history, looking into that. Wilson's of Bannockburn, the original go-to.
Yeah.
We've the set size what they
Had.
had is almost identical what we do. So we've just followed them.
So I'm sorry, Wilson's of Bannockburn. You're being thrown under the bus.
Yeah,
By
they're,
Keith. Well, they don't exist.
they're all
They didn't
dead
exist.
now,
But
Rocky.
I think our Strome's about 28 inches. It's a big set.
It's big.
It's big. It's surprising it does no bad throughout the year. Bale wise, we'll probably do a bale a year.
Well, there's a lot of family names
Yeah.
linked to Aberdeen, so yeah.
It is one of the. But then if you look at Black Watch, is a big set as well.
Technically, yes,
Yeah,
but usually
it's-
people plead it to the half
Aye.
set, not the
You
full
didn't
set.
notice it, but then you
Yeah,
start looking at it. and think, whoa.
Aberdeen, you can kind of notice.
It is.
Yeah.
But then, Aberdeen, Brisa Kinnaird, and Dundee Old. They're quite.
Dundee Old is a beautiful tartan.
It
though.
is.
I really love
It's
that
quite undermarketed.
It really is. And the two shades of red and the
Mhm.
orange in there, it's chef's kiss. That's a beautiful one.
Yep.
Okay. So, do you know why they originally did it, and or we can go a different direction, less uncomfortable for you for making horrible decisions in the past. Well, at least the mill did. What is the current rationale if you're going to design a new tartan now?
Yeah.
What set size would Lochcarron see as kind of ideal? What are you aiming for in a set size for a particular tartan if you're designing it today? It's a trap.
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
Whatever the kilt maker say, sir.
Yeah. 7 inches.
7?
7's
Okay.
good. It works. But then try to make sure, if somebody designs their own tartan, we'll try and make sure it starts and finishes in the right bit. So if you look at, Buchanan Blue is quite an awkward one because it doesn't,
Non-matching.
it's not matching, and you've not got like a set and one to follow. So we'll kind of maybe tweak it around with the customer's consent to say, look, if you try it this way, it will work from side to side.
Yeah.
Then it's trying to work like where you put your tuck-in edge. You've got to go, but if you move this about, it'll work better instead of having like your white line right along the edge. There's a lot of step, but 7 inches is kind of your go-to set size. If somebody wanted to, I think you can blow them up to even bigger, like, but then it's more of a fashion product then on accessories. But if you keep your kilt 7 inches, or if you go like your reaver fabric, will go smaller, just because it's more.
But they're used for small, for
smaller
women's garments and things like that.
But kilt weight 7 inches is roughly
Yeah.
right.
So I'm always curious about how the mills think about doing their own designs. How much, because you're just weaving the cloth, how much do you think about the kilt makers?
We can look at it as well because we've recently invested in a new design program, and you can look at it in a bigger picture instead of working like an A4 card. It's went like in the 21st century. It's like whoa, and like once you get some new designs done, you'll actually see it. It's like, you can actually see what it's got to look like instead of having one set. You've actually got to go.
Do you do like this is a serious question. Do you do like the big blueprint styles, type things, or no?
Yeah.
Okay, so big enough.
It's big enough, like, so you can actually see the repeat, unless
Yeah.
it's Aberdeen. Well, I'd probably add 3 together.
Or the recent Commonwealth Games one with that huge...
Which was, we wove that, and it was like, because it was done like in an asymmetric, we had to like turn it, and it was like looking at it, and with Siobhan, the designer, came down to the factory, and she looking at it, and she went, I don't think that's right. I'm like, what do you mean? Because she designed it, we did it on a card, then she was designing the garment, so she looked at the garment side of things, then we looked at the weaving side of things. So Leslie and her design team and Siobhan spoke, and they went, she saw where Siobhan was coming from. Siobhan then realised, and it works.
Yeah.
But looking at it from a bit of paper to on the
finished
loom
thing.
was like, that's not quite. But then it does. You just have to turn it, and it was perfect. Like, it's quite fortunate because we got the best dressed team in the Commonwealth Games.
Nice.
It's quite good, and it was good to see that, like, something that we'd wove using Scottish wool
Yeah.
on the main stage.
Yeah.
And it does. So,
Yeah.
and I think we recently done the UCI World Mountain Bike Championships, which is up in one of the local forests near us. So we done the UCI mountain bike tartan as well.
Nice.
And so,
Good stuff. All right, Erik.
We have a few people asking if there are tours of the Lochcarron Mill by chance.
there is mill tours.
Steal some cloth for me if you go.
If you're coming back to the States and you don't want to pay shipping, just put Rocky's stuff into your bag like that. No, mill tours. We do mill tours Monday to Thursday. We're quite fortunate. Production don't work a Friday unless you are very lucky and there's some weaving on. You might get into the mill on a Friday. But usually Monday to Thursday. We do probably 3 or 4 tours a day. You can just rock up, or you can phone up and make an appointment. Then if you're really unfortunate, you'll get me to take you around the factory and listen to me talking and
Shouting at you over the machinery.
get a whack of stuff, like, so you get and in the sheds. But it's a good way of actually seeing and realising, one, how things start from like A to B. Then you realise like the value of the product is, oh, that's why it's not a cheap product, but you get to realise let's say there's 16 processes in the weaving shed. Once it goes to finishing, there's probably another 16 to 20 processes, which we don't see. Then it comes back to like the cutting bench. Then you've got like Mikey and Mark, and look at the team that does all the cutting. They're handling it. Then it goes to, so it's all hands on.
Shipped,
It's
then
shipped.
it's customs, then it's the kilt maker. Yep.
There's lots goes into it, like, but mill tours, we've got like a small wee bit of history about tartan and some of the, what we've kind of touched on earlier today, some of the design pieces customers that we work with, the sustainability side of things, wool, the environment, all that, into the weaving shed. And it's kind of, we've got the weaving trail, so it goes like the dye house, the warping, winding, into the, down to the looms, and you'll see the two different kind of looms. We've got the summits, sorry, the saucers, and I've said it's Dorniers now, we've changed them. We've got Dorniers are new, then we've got the Smiths, which is the new looms at the very bottom. You'll see all them working, doing different weaves, maybe a fashion cloth in the Dorniers, and you might see Buchanan blue getting woven in the bottom looms, into darning. And a lot of people in the factory will interact with you. You ask them a question, they'll run away and hide. They'll tell you how it is, which is great. Sometimes you think, oh my God, but it's all right. Then in the warehouse,
Don't talk to him.
Yeah, but people, they want to tell their story because we've all got a passion for what we're doing, and just seeing it out there, like,
Yeah, no, that's one thing. Again, this whole industry, the people who are in this industry love what they do. There aren't a whole lot of people who are just lackadaisical of like, yep, gotta go weave heritage cloth today. All right, fine, it's a paycheck.
Yeah,
the people that that I've met in the industry, the people that I've met at the mills, the people that the people that we hire in this building, whether it's a camaraderie within the building and within the team, or if it's camaraderie, or if it's a passion for the actual material and the heritage, or it's a passion for made in Scotland. There's a lot of overflowing passion within all of this kind of stuff.
and we're quite even fortunate. We've got a good connection in Edinburgh. She's got a little shop, and she gets like private tours. Like, say you've got some American family want to come down and visit the borders, and it's one of those places. It's like a wee hidden gem. There's no much. A lot of people think go north, love the history, love the scenery, but it's a weird feeling. Like, say you come over the English border and you stand at the top of the Carter Bar, which is like the border between England and Scotland, and you're looking down on the borders, like you're thinking, quite lucky. And it's like, and I'm a bit softy sometimes. When I'm coming like from some of my trips, I'll put on no Slipknot, I'll put on Skerrivo or Tide Lines. My wife will go, what are you listening to? I just listen to it in the car, like, and it's like, it's good music because you feel as you're coming home. Although I've been away, this will be different. If I've been away, I'll come out the States. So I've got it in my car, so I'll be all right going back to New York tomorrow. I'll put that on. Some home.
There's what's it? The phrase there's no patriot like an expatriate, or there's the kilts are worn by Americans in Scotland and by Scots in America. It's the number of Scots that I've met that either live here or travel here or are here for an extended period of time who say like I've never appreciated where I came from until I was here and saw how much other people appreciated what I have. And wow, like it gives you that mirror to look at yourself and look at your own culture and be like, wow, it really is beautiful here. Yeah. It really is a beautiful country. I really am lucky to be able to have sheep as neighbors.
If you look at the song, it's like My Borderland, and the words to that, it sums up what we've got, and we're pretty damn lucky.
Yeah.
Aye, it's good.
Agreed. Erik.
Hi. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. A couple of history questions here, which you can interbraid if you want to. Kevin Stone and yours truly.
Cool.
We were wondering, how far back do the records of the mill go? And I'm thinking in terms of like earliest orders, how the mill got started in the first place. Kevin is wondering, is there a physical archive of woven samples of tartan? I mean, other than what we're talking about with thread, dye thread, but of woven samples of actually tartan.
Yes and no. We are really bad at keeping records, old records. It is. We look at the archives and you're thinking, we've got couple of boxes. I don't know if it's like being part of like a family company and just things getting diluted into cupboards and forgot about. But there's no like a room where you could walk in. It's like the history of Lochcarron, and it's like what we've found. We have got ledgers going back through acquisitions of company and like early 30s, but we've got stuff like going. We can't pin down the actual date to be 1890. We've got history going back to that, but then a series of acquisitions of companies over the years, we get a little bit, but the history with the company that we've bought may
Have some stuff themselves.
didn't come with the company.
Yeah.
And we bought the name, but we didn't buy all the archives.
The records, yeah.
But we know Lochcarron itself is a little village in Western Ross. It was started up after the war due to a family connection with the Buchanan family. And the first piece of cloth that they wove was Crawford. And we can't put a specific date on when we started weaving our tartan range. There isn't any record of that, which is a bit sad nowadays. But everything what we do now is documented, and we took a swatch off the cloth. We had one last week. One of my suppliers in the kilt industry phoned me. It's like, I've sent you a picture. Can you identify the tartan? I'm thinking, right. So we're quite lucky. Iona works beside me and Kev. If you can't get the tartan identified between the three of us, like we're like, well, and we're going, it looks like a Mackay, but it's no Mackay. And I went, right. So when I first started doing the cloth cutting, I always kept like a ring binder under my table. And it's still there. Right. So if you're doing a special, it gets an S number. I thought, so I went back and it's like S26 Special Mackay in the customer's name, and it was that. So it's like that was going back to the early 2000s, but then we have got stuff into the early 80s. So I'm thinking, right, we can find it. If it's something really old, we can probably replicate it, but we won't have like a woven sample of that.
Right.
If you could provide us with it, we'll match it. But history is a bad thing. So what we're trying now is, we've recently acquired through ex-family members of the company. They had a lot of Vivian Westwood pieces and fashion pieces.
Oh, cool.
We had an office in London, and I think they were all based in, like, London was the place you went and met these customers.
Right.
You didn't come this way.
Yeah.
You always went down. And they had it, so we've acquired that again. So we have got a lot of vintage pieces, and they're in clear bags hanging up within a suit carrier. So we know on that side of things we've got stuff.
Yeah, it's difficult. Even in our USA Kilts short 21-year history, it's difficult looking back. We have specific things left over, pictures, whatever, from the first few years in business. But when you're in it and you're doing it, you're not thinking, oh, this thing is going to last 50 years, 100 years. I need to catalog. I need to document my steps to the process. What you're thinking is, oh, shoot, this guy's order got screwed up. Okay, I got to do this. I got to do this tomorrow. I got to answer these emails. I got to build the website. You're thinking about every single little tiny detail. You're not thinking about the big, long picture. So we're lucky enough that I still have like a picture of the first shop that we were in, as well as Kelly, kudos to her, was smart enough when they tore down that little cottage that we first started in. She took one of the stones from that cottage, and we actually have that in the store. But it's a shame that more founders don't know when they're in it. Like, they can't forecast to the future and see 100 years into the future. If we could, we'd be much richer. But we can't see it and say that we're not thinking about it in the moment. Now, I will say you missed an opportunity there, sir. What you should have said was that Blair Macnaughton snuck into Lochcarron. Macnaughton's like the parent company of House of Egger. Blair Macnaughton. Here, I'm going to do it. I'm going to fix it for you. the real reason why Lochcarron doesn't have any of their old records. Blair Macnaughton, dressed as a ninja, snuck into Lochcarron in the middle of the night and fought with Alistair Buchan, Highlander style. There could be only one. Alistair escaped barely with his life, but Blair took Lochcarron's records. That son of a...
Bloody
And
bastard.
he took them and destroyed Lochcarron's covenant. That is what gave them their power. That was the Samson. That was the hair of Samson that gave Lochcarron their power. They almost destroyed Lochcarron, but the records have begun to accumulate again. And through time, through luck, through sheer will of fortitude and grit, Lochcarron has clawed their way back from the edge. And Blair Macnaughton is no more.
So we the Percy Jacksons now.
I don't know. I'm just going way off the rails.
Somebody
now.
get the hook.
That's the second whiskey talking.
But no, it's like you never know something. If you're like in a charity shop, something, and you're walking by, you may find a Wilson's of Bannockburn book. Now, what would you do with that?
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks
yeah.
very much.
yes, exactly. It speaks to the broader thing of you don't know the good times when you're in the good times.
Don't notice.
You know that you're going through a thing and you're just going through the motions, and then 20, 30 years later, you look back and be like, man, I wish I would have done that. Yeah. Not many of us have the foresight to think in the moment, this is the thing I need to catalog. This is the thing that's going to be important. This is the story until it's too late. So hopefully that's part of why we do these videos, is to be able to catalog these things, both for the company, for the industry, for our friends like Keith, all of it. To be able to say, this is how it was in our time. This is why these things happen. This is how these things happen. These are our stories, and this is how we're telling it going forward.
Yeah.
Indeed.
You're here.
Cheers. Erik.
Rocky, TGF 42193 thinks you should get into doing children's novels. He thinks you have a future as a adventure storyteller.
Fair.
King Charles writes kids.
I was about to say, speaking of friends, Peter J. Hutchinson, friend of the channel, mentioned that our mutual good, very close good friend, King Charles III, visited the mill. How has His Majesty taking an interest in tartan and Highland dress benefited the industry, in your opinion? And was there any favorite moment during that visit?
Right. I think King Charles and Camilla, King and Queen, when they came around the factory, it was very hush-hush for a good couple of months before that, because there was some very tall gentlemen in suits turning up the factory looking very suspicious. And you imagine like G.I. Joe, you could move their eyes with moving the little switch at the back of their head.
Yeah.
They were like looking at everything and what was going on, walking around the factory and the guys of a tour. Who are they? So it's like, then gradually it came out, people were asking, what's happening? Are we getting a visit? And I'm like, don't know. But it coincided with the visit of the Great Tapestry of Scotland and Gala Shields. Queen Camilla was meant to open that. Unfortunately, the late Queen passed away about the same time, so that was mothballed. So she came in to do it then. Then it was technically a private visit, so it wasn't on the radar of some of the bigwigs what go along to these things, because the power of the visitor is what we had. So it's kind of a low key, but then it came out and it's kept straight in the weaving shed, like, and he engaged with most people all around the factory, and it was like quite daunting. Thinking, that's the king there, like, and then it's like, he's there, like, there was people come down to see him, like, and it was like, right. My niece at the time was more excited seeing like the sniffer dogs, because she didn't become a vet, so she's more interested about how the dogs became how they do it.
So they are dog people. That does speak highly of them.
Yep.
That they are dog people. I don't trust non-dog people.
But no, it was good. And it tied in with going back to the herringbone selvage kilt through Peter Macdonald and John McLeish. They were promoting that, and us using like Scottish wool was a big plus point for him to visit the factory. We've been fortunate in the past. We've had visits from Princess Anne, previously, like, and I was like, right, it's an opportunity. You'd be daft not to take it, like, so we took it, like, it's quite good to see that once he got his kilt, it was woven. A month or so later, he was wearing it at the Braveheart Highland Games, and that same again. You're talking about what generates interest in tartan. The amount of inquiries we got after him the picture at Braveheart, can we buy that tartan? No, really, like you need to ask the permission for the main man, like so. But it's like for him promoting
Highland Dress.
Highland Dress, campaign for wool, and obviously the work that he does at Dumfries House, which is a total different story. It's like he's got a passion for things, and he's like he wants to keep them because if you don't keep them, they'll
go away.
They'll go away. Like so, it's good. It's generated interest, and it's a talking point as well. And you gauge that when visitors come into the factory. They must have done their homework as well because they know we've had a visit, and it's like, all right, and it's like they're walking. Oh, you spoke to the king, so when it goes into Darning, or Darner's Palm, we'll call her Lady Pamela now because Pam likes to engage with people, and she just speaks like me and Rocky speaking here. It was like say Rocky was the king. There was no.
Elvis.
It was like there was like no nervousness. It's just like normal people speaking. It was good. It was really. It was like once he went, it was like, aye, it was bonkers. But then it's like we got a local ice cream company to come after the visit. I think the king was at the road end. There was a queue for the ice cream van. But all the police were quite upset because they had to go to the next venue and they never get any ice cream. So, but it was good, and it was a big sigh of relief, like, and just the press was interested, and like our donors back in Korea, like they were like because they're very royalist, and they were like they thought it was amazing that we actually had a visit from somebody that high up. It was really good, and so
it's love him or hate him. The good that he does for the industry across the board, and the Made in Scotland thing, from cloth to the British sheep to to sporrans and all of it. Charles is absolutely the biggest cheerleader. He knows how to dress. He knows what he's doing. He's a very, very classy looking dude. Yes, I just called him a dude.
You did.
Yes, indeed. That's my Americanism.
That's a high compliment for us.
Indeed. He's a very, very classy looking guy, and he knows how to to dress in Highland attire. He knows what he's doing. He's definitely a staunch supporter of the industry. He's done a lot of good for the industry. Yep. So,
and really fortunate because most royal visits, maybe like 15, 20 minutes, they're in and out. Yeah, I think it was in the factory about an hour and 20, and it was like,
geez,
I'm like, crikey. But then, if you work out all the processes, he spoke to everybody in each process. So, yeah, it was good.
Yeah, he has a genuine curiosity and a genuine love for this stuff. So I'll give him that. Like, it's the reason why he was there for an hour and 20 minutes is because he really wants to understand how the cloth is made and what the process is. He does have a thirst for knowledge within this stuff.
It's good. It was a really enjoyable day, but it was enjoyable seeing the lead up to it as well. And it was like, we never slapped everything with
Secret Service.
A fresh tin of paint. It was nothing like that. It was a working factory. We opened the big door. Then you could see there was like the boxes had some dust on. You opened the big door and all the wind blew the dust. But then it's a factory. It's no like a.
It's a factory tour. It's not a
Aye, but no, it was good. Really, really good. Like so. And yeah, it was a good lift for the company as well. Like obviously, what's all happened in the past to see like the 10-year journey from where getting taken over 11 years ago, taken over to where we are.
Yeah, from the brink of ruin to royal visit is a pretty hell of a story arc. And
getting the new looms come in. I think the new looms came in just after the visit because we had to put the looms back a bit because either that there was going to be one of the old looms flying about in midair on top of a crane.
Let's not crush King Charles with the loom.
So we had to kind of put that a bit back, but then it was like, no, it's been really good, and the whole company got a lift. and the town, because they did a bit in the town centre after, like, so for Selkirk, 5,000 people, 6,000 people, for the king to be there most of a morning, it's not bad, like.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Erik.
It is 4:54. Not sure how much longer you want to go.
All right.
We'll do a question or two.
Okay. I do want to get this one in a little bit. I think you've already touched on this topic, but I think this is important to underscore what we were saying earlier about the industry. Scott Sanders said, not stating any company in particular. However, what are Keith's thoughts on knockoff kilts? That is to say, those who are selling products without permission or weave certain tartans like Isle of Skye without authorization and products coming from certain areas overseas.
Let's parse this into two things. Thoughts on import kilts. Import meaning like Pakistani acrylic, cheaper kilts. And then the second half is companies or individuals or whatever that will rip off, not that I'm biased at all, but rip off those scumbags, a particular design like Isle of Skye, or someone who takes someone's intellectual property and then just kind of, hey, we're going to do this one too, without permission.
Right.
Which one do you want to start on?
Save the best one to last.
Hot seat.
It's like,
No, I want to
what I
do.
do.
I want to do one more. I want to do the single width.
the cheap kilts, the look-alike kilts aren't quite there. Yeah, there is a place for them, but it's no true. They get called kilts, but when you look at what's actually in them, there's not that much to it. It's just a couple of yards.
It's a pleated garment.
It's a pleated garment. It's not even a kilt. But then, if you were looking to see where a stag do, or it was going to get ruined in one thing, or you wanted to walk in the Highlands, try
the
it.
West Highland Way, or
Right.
something. Yeah.
Or it comes to a price point, you need it for an event. You didn't want to spend a whack of money on getting something made to measure, and it is a lot of money to get something the full outfit. And you didn't want to start. It's maybe a starting point, or if you're, say you were growing quite a bit, stick it on with that, and it gives you a starting point. If you've got to grow 2 feet the next year, then you buy a kilt. Just buy something you can almost throw away after it, or hand it down to somebody else. But it is there. There is a market for it, but it is quite annoying sometimes when you see them and you think people are like buying, thinking, oh, that's not really a kilt, but it's a tourist trap thing as well. Like, so anywhere in the world you go, you'll find touristy things saying, like, you'll find a New York keyring. Where does that come from?
Yeah. And
you'll find anywhere in the world. I was really naive last time I was here. I bought Lego at the New York skyline. I'm thinking you can just buy it here. I went to the Lego shop in Edinburgh. Oh, you can buy it there as well, like so. But it's Lego's Lego, like, but then you can't get cheaper Lego.
Yeah.
But,
no, you're right. You make a valid point. Of it's for, there are certain things that are either now the way I'm phrasing this, I'm talking about if you go to Scotland, if you're in Edinburgh on the Royal Mile, or if you're in a tourist type of shop in a city center in a big city in Scotland, it is and what is the expectation of the tourist who's walking through?
Yeah.
What do they want? I'm in Scotland. I want to buy a kilt. And do they want to spend a lot of money on it? No, because I'm going to buy this kilt for my cousin or for my nephew or for my daughter or for my son or for whatever. So they don't want to spend a lot of money on it. So they're just, the expectation is low and the price has to be low to make a sale on it at all. Are they going to walk into, a high-end kilt shop on the Royal Mile and drop down, 500, 600, 700 pounds on an 8-yard wool kilt? Probably not if it's a gift for somebody else, or if it's just if they're buying it on a whim. If you're buying something on a whim, there's a certain price point associated with that whim before it becomes painful, or before you need a lot of whiskey in order to make the purchase. So I agree. It serves a purpose for the tourist trade in Scotland and in a parallel way, it serves a purpose for the entry level of the market here in the diaspora, whether it's Canada, Australia, New Zealand, whether it's the US, wherever it is. There are certain segments of the audience who want a kilt but can't afford a kilt, so I'm going to buy the thing I can afford. And then it's, as we refer to it, it is a gateway drug. It is the way into the entire thing. It's the first toe in the water of your heritage. And once you buy that and you wear it a couple times and you realize, hey, this is kind of fun, this is cool. And the more you get engaged with your own heritage, the more you look into it, the more you research, the more you say, you know what, I'm going to buy my own family tartan. I'm going to buy a proper Scottish, Scottish wool material for my kilt. I'm going to buy a real kilt, not the less expensive kilt. I want one that's hand sewn, or I want one that has, it's a full 8 yards. It's not, 4 yards of acrylic material, that kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does. Even like we look at some of the Lambswool products like scarves and blankets on sale in the mile, there's a wide variety, and a lot of the tartans get like, let's say Bruce Kinnaird. You might find Bruce Kinnaird for £15 for a scarf. You might see it for £20. You might see it for £30. But you get super savvy shoppers now. They're actually looking at the brand and taking a photo of it, reading the label, and finding out where it's from. So it's filtering through. They're actually looking to see, one, where it's come from. The price points will be all different. And like, all right, I know what it is, and they may buy that.
Now, do you guys have the same laws in Scotland that we have in the US of, it needs to have the made in blank? So is it made in the UK, made in China, made in Pakistan, made in India?
A lot of products will have, like your kilt fabric will be woven in Scotland. If it's a tie, it might have made in the UK.
Understood. But if I'm walking into a shop on the Royal Mile, okay, if I grab a scarf off the rack and turn it over, is it going to say the country of origin? Is that legally have to be there? Or is it going to, like Lochcarron is going to say, obviously made in Scotland.
Yeah.
Because you're very proud of that fact. If it is not made in Scotland, if it's one of the Gold Brothers things and it's made in Pakistan or made in India or whatever, is it, if you flip it over, is it going to say made in Pakistan? Or is it going to say nothing?
I don't think it's saying anything. But it's one of those ones, it's a very grey area to police. And it's like, who'll police it? And how far do you go with it? Yeah.
How far would I go with it?
Well, yeah. I was being very tactful there as well. Can we supply a lot of these, like some of the shops as well. So it's a bit of a mixed, I love it. We supply them, but then we've got products in there as well. So we need them and they need us.
Well, they'll carry Lochcarron brand as well as other things. Correct. Yeah.
And everybody does it as well. Like, and
So what are your thoughts on companies that sell straight knockoffs of a particular tartan? Are they just filling a market and a price point, or are they absolute scumbags and should be hung, drawn, and quartered?
First answer there. First part of the question. They're filling. It's a price point as well, but then they might be thinking, right, they need it in a cotton. We don't supply it in a cotton. They'll get it made somewhere in a cotton weight.
No. I don't think that's what the question was. It's if someone is like Rosemary and Samois that did the Isle of Skye tartan.
Yes.
Now, if you don't offer a cotton material or a silk fabric or something like that, and let's say Ingalls does a cotton or they do silk or whatever, and they say, okay, fine, we are going to offer this in silk, and they've gotten permission, and then they do the weaving. That's a different story. That's fine.
Yeah.
Now, what about companies that will say, hey, well, it's just a pattern. It's just an image. Yeah. Why can't we weave it too?
But then is it for the tartan authority to police because they've got the registration? We can't go around every shop and check what's in every shop. Nobody can. But it's very annoying when you see something like
I'm
half dodging this one. Like
I know you are. I'll let you dodge it. Yeah. But I will say this: I am I'll burn that bridge when I get to it kind of guy.
Right.
And if I'm a supplier, and again, I'm not a supplier, so I have the liberty to say this. If I'm a supplier and one of my customers is offering my product as well as a knockoff version of my product, my answer is, well, pick. You decide. Do you want the legitimate one that you're buying from me and all of the rest of the products you're buying from me? Or do you want to buy this imported one that does not have my approval, that is not my intellectual property, that you're ripping me off on? Which one do you want? And if they say, well, we're going to keep selling that one, then my answer is, okay, fine, sell that one. You're not going to sell anything else from me. And here, okay, I'm going to go, hold on, I'm not done. So here's my thing. Here's my sales pitch to the industry as a friggin' whole. And I don't care, and I'm going to put you on I'm not really putting you on the hot spot because I don't expect you to answer this. But my theory is, if House of Edgar and Martin Mills and Lochcarron and Strathmore and Battley's and whoever else all got together and said, look, we're going to draw a hard line in the sand, and either you're selling authentic stuff or you're not. And you draw that line as a collective group. And I'm not saying that's an easy thing to get a consensus from 5 or 6 different companies, but if you could get everyone on the same page, you could do a lot of good/damage, depending on how you look at it, to be able to say, no, either you're with us or you're against us, and segment the industry. So you're either selling cheap stuff that's tourist friendly, that's as much of a nice ribbon that I'm going to put on it, or you're selling authentic goods. I don't expect you to answer that. I'm not going to put you on the hot seat, but that's my theory.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Like, but it's one of these questions. Like, but then it's like, where do we start and how far do we go with it?
Yeah, I know.
Right?
That is always the question.
That is, it's so hard, and it's like, because we do Princess of Wales tartan,
right?
And you look up and thinking, that's no hard. And we looked at that because of intellectual property rights on it, and it's like it cost more to take it to, and how long it would take.
Oh, I know.
And then
I
the
know,
outcome,
I know.
and it was like, and it's frustrating, but then it's like, you never know. We might get a collective industry.
I know.
Insane. But then look at some things like, some things are protected by European law, and that's to only be made in certain areas.
Harris Tweed, Champagne, that kind of thing.
So, but tartans worldwide.
Yeah.
How do we manage that?
I don't think, I've seen this before. I don't think you're able to, because where do you draw the line? If some people have said, like, okay, for it to be a real kilt, or to have a Scottish kilt, it has to be, hand sewn in Scotland of Scottish cloth. Okay, fine. Then does Strathmore, who has some of their cloth, or has the cloth woven in England, do they count? Does House of Edgar, who doesn't have Scottish sheep like you guys, do they count? Is a machine sewn kilt in Scotland count? Does a hand sewn kilt made by Barb Tewksbury, who literally wrote the book, The Art of Kilt Making, who lives in New York, but is making it from your hand, or from your Scottish wool cloth, does that count? Where do you draw the line with that? There's too many different things that muddy that water to be able to have a clear yes or no kind of answer to that one. That's my one man's opinion.
It's a bit like Brexit for us.
Yeah.
It's a massive can of worms.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer.
Yeah. There's ultimately no good answer. My answer is the only good answer. So yes, draw a freaking hard line, and this side or that side. Sorry, I'm gonna one more push for that. But no, I completely understand the intricacies are not nearly that black and white as I am. I have the luxury of being able to say it like that. You don't, nor do any of the mills, who have to rely on all kinds of customers from all kinds of places. So I completely understand it. I am going to end this question to get you out of that hot seat. I'm going to do one more, Erik. I want to do the question about the single width cloth and the looms on that.
You did discuss this earlier,
Not
however.
fully.
Matt Horn asked, why do some mills only weave certain tartans in single width? Wouldn't it be more efficient or economical to weave double width? Then you'd either have enough for a single great kilt or 2 single width tailored kilts. And on a similar note, William R. asked, when did you change over, Lochcarron, from using shuttle looms to the high-speed rapier looms? So why would you do single versus double, and why did you guys choose to do this?
I'm gonna go first.
Right, yeah.
I've done homework. Speaking of institutional knowledge being lost, Bill Whelan, who's a good friend of mine, no longer works at House of Edgar, but the people that work at House of Edgar now, most of them weren't there when House of Edgar switched over to single width looms. So I'm going to speak kind of on behalf of House of Edgar, having done actual research and taken notes. So House of Edgar single width looms. I'm going to paint the picture. In the mid 1990s, House of Edgar was experiencing a boom from Braveheart and from Rob Roy, and as the industry was in the mid 90s, Lochcarron, I'm assuming as well. And what they were finding was all of their looms, they had a bunch of old Dobcross looms, and those looms, the newest loom that they had in the mid 90s was 1967. So all of their looms were very, very, very old. And so they were basically, their company was experiencing a boom, and production, the desire for tartan was going up, and their ability to produce it was going down, because as one loom broke, they would have to cannibalize. They had like the cannibalized loom, where they would use one loom for pieces and parts, and use, this gear broke off of that loom. Great, take it off of that loom. And then this part broke off of that loom. Great, take it off of this loom. And then as they cannibalize too many parts, now they have to take the least working loom and make that one a parts loom. So the number of available looms that they actually had working was going down. So and the other thing that they found was the technology of these looms was quasi dangerous. As Bill put it, when you went to the weaving shed, you would almost have to wear a helmet, because the shuttles would occasionally fly off the loom, and you have to kind of like ducking and bobbing and weaving like a boxer walking through the weaving shed. And the other problem that they had, as we kind of touched on earlier, was the tension of the bobbins of the shuttles was off, or could be off, so that the bottom edge would have a little bit of a wavering kind of pattern. And another problem that they had with the old Dobcross looms were that the darners would have to trim the floats on both sides of the cloth. So as you're weaving cloth, when it changes from red to blue, you'd have to actually carry that red thread over to the next time red occurred. And then when you have an entire 80 yard piece of cloth, someone would actually have to go up both sides of the cloth and trim off all of those floats. So the late 90s, technology was advancing, and they House of Edgar approached the textile engineer, and they asked them to retrofit a high-speed rapier loom to make a kilting selvage. This literally took 5 or 6 years, as far as Bill's recollection, to get this thing to work. It was back and forth, a lot of trial and error, trying to make a loom do something the loom wasn't meant to do. So they finally dialed it in, finally got it set, and they said, okay, we're going to buy 8 looms, and we're going to kind of patent the process. So those 8 looms, came online in about 2004, 2005, and House of Edgar changed almost all of their cloth in 2004, 2005 to single width cloth. Now, the advantage was for an 8-yard kilt, you didn't have to splice it anymore. The disadvantage was the cloth for a fly plaid, the cloth for a great kilt has to be spliced. It can no longer be, double width if it's only 32 inches wide. It also limited what you could do for upholstery fabric and stuff like that, which is an industry that needs a wider piece of cloth. The advantage was the high speed looms were twice as fast. They were getting 250 picks per second or picks per minute, twice as fast as a Dobcross loom. The problem was it was only half the width, so that was kind of a wash. But they did save time in the finishing process. Now, the double width, they also invested in some double width rapier looms, which were twice as fast as a single width rapier looms. So they got a lot more yield out of those, but it was definitely a process, and it was definitely a turning point kind of in the industry. House of Edgar decided in the late 90s, early 2000s, that they were going to put more weight into making sure they're maintaining a quilting selvage at the bottom of the cloth for their looms. That's why they, invested so much money in the single width looms and invested time and effort in designing and bringing them, to creating, Frankenstein's monster, bringing this thing to life. But they also did double width rapier looms because those things freaking fly, and that you can get a lot more yield out of those particular things. Now, I know that Lochcarron had a couple or single width looms. How do you utilize those now versus your double width rapier looms?
Right. The single width loom we've got now, we've got two, but then one's sometimes used. One's set up completely for single width. Customer specials or uncentered tartans, what we've done in the past, have always kept single width. It's
uncentered meaning asymmetrical, non-matching
non-matching.
tartans, correct? Like Buchanan
Buchanan or McCalls.
Or
yeah,
a lot of them.
Because McCalls, it's either got a black line or a white line on both selvedges.
Macmillan Old, Campbell Dress. There's several asymmetrical tartans.
So the last shuttle loom we had in the mill was 1997, and that's when we bought 8 new Summit looms. That's the ones we've just replaced this year, and it's like something again, like everything grows old, and they're only 20 odd years old, but the technology that they had and the circuit boards, they were the ones that was causing the problems. The machine, the actual metalwork, fine, but if something goes wrong, you had to send it away to get reprogrammed, or you get a second-hand circuit board, which it might be fine, it might not be fine.
Yep.
So that was the idea. So every loom that we've got in the factory now is less than 4 years old, which that gives another 20 plus years of longevity within the factory. We have got a pedal loom in the shed in the mill.
That's what they make you run on when you're bad?
It's one of those things. It'd be a great project if you had time to kind of get up and running. But it's finding the knowledge for some of the old worthies, how it works, because it's the same principle as the new looms, a wee bit slower. But we've got a single width pedal loom in the shed at the back. You're thinking, but it's like, how much time and money do you want to spend on that? It's not going to be committed. It's just going to be a showpiece.
Yeah.
But for the as you touched on there, the speed of the looms, like for us to go commercial, all our like lightweight fabric goes into the fashion industry. So they needed the double width, 150 odd wide, or 63 inches.
60 inches.
60 inches.
Yeah.
Right. So we needed that width for that industry, and that's what we've kind of went for there. And getting stuff through the door. If you're weaving lambswool scarves, a 60 metre length will give you 180 scarves, but we'll weave like 6 in the width. So you're needing that to get that volume through. It's kind of a commercial thing too, but then each mill's slightly different what they want to do.
Mm-hmm. And what their end products are.
Yeah, and they've got the market. We went this way, and it works for us. And also with our fast looms, it's got a tuck-in selvage. When we went from the shuttle edge to a tuck-in, it was like, oh. But the industry has come round to it too, like it, and it's never batted an eyelid. Yeah, there's if it's 16 ounce Strome, there's a thinner thread in it because you don't want a fluffy edge.
A thick, fluffy edge.
Fluffy edge. That's hard to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to watch. So we've done a wee bit of work with it, and it works. And I'd say 9.9 customers are happy with the tuck-in.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's one thing that I I've always, a tuck-in selvage about a centimeter up from the bottom. You have a tiny little bit of fringe, an artifact of the weaving process, so to speak. And there are some people who will say, no, 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 no. It has to be a nice, clean kilting selvage. That's it. And but for my money, for my value, like all of our custom weaves that we do, we always do on a double width loom because you get a lot more cloth for a little bit more money compared to a single width with a proper kilting, air quotes, proper kilting selvage. And to your point, 99% of people don't see it, don't recognize it, and they're fine with either way.
But no, it's good. There's a place for everything. It's like we've touched on that so many times this afternoon. There is a place for everything, and this is our look. Yeah, and that's what we run with.
It's your own recipe. You're all special flowers to me, Keith.
Yeah, thank you.
You're all individual special snowflakes with your own recipes. Yes, indeed. Buy Scottish made stuff, boys and girls. All right, question of the day, Erik. Do we have any? What are some questions of the day we could ask? I don't know. Keith, do you have any questions of the day you want to ask people?
Pretty cool.
No? Okay.
Yeah,
very good. Okay, I'm going to ask a question of the day.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. Does wool, Scottish-made wool, or Scottish-grown sheep, mentally move the needle for you in where you're buying your cloth from or not? I'm just curious. Would you, if all things are equal, so the price of this, price of this black watch is the same as the price of this black watch, but one was sheep raised in Scotland, wool woven in Scotland, versus New Zealand sheep, Scottish woven wool. Does that move the needle for you? Do you care? Do you not care? Is it really down to the quality of the cloth and or the colors? That's the question of the day. All right. Thank you, boys and girls, for joining us. Until next time, Slanj.
Take care.
What color is misrepresented in tartans?